Gillian Ridley Whittle, you spent years at dizzying heights in the world of high street fashion, with your CV reading like an industry who's who. But you gave up the corporate world 4 years ago to pursue a lifelong dream of setting up your brand, Peach House, which aims to balance sustainable and ethical products with beautiful, feminine, and quality designs. Initially planned as an online service, last year you opened your first boutique in Covent Garden, and you've also returned back to your native Northeast from London. Thank you so much for giving up your time to join me on Decoding Calm today. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, you and I were chatting a little bit just before I pressed record here. But the first question I want to ask you is the first question I ask everybody. And you seem calm, right? Since we only just met. The first thing I thought when you came on, you got quite a calm energy. You can kind of sense it even down the screen, can't you? Um, so would you describe yourself as a calm person, Gilly?
I would now.
Right.
I would say that I have very level emotions. I am very grounded. I don't trigger. I am a very calming and warm energy to be around.
Nice. And the way you phrased that, you said, I am now. So take us back to when you weren't, and what were you like then? What was different? And what led you to needing to become calmer? Was there something significant that happened that shifted?
Yeah. I have spent a lot of my life, and hindsight's great. I look back on my life now. I spent a lot of my adult life, certainly from my 30s onwards, which where significantly started to notice a change in my who I am and how I felt. But I spent a lot of that time very anxious. In my early 40s, I got very much living in a fight or flight situation, and it was my normal. And I just thought that was me. I was a little bit of a hyper person.
Mm,
I I was in stressful jobs. I decided that was just what life was, and that's because I chose to be in those jobs, in those where I earned a lot of money. There was a high pressure factor, there was high expectations. That's just what my life was about. I liked all the trappings that came with it.
mm.
I look back now and I started panic attacks before I was 10. I used to say to my mum, I can't
Wow.
breathe properly, mum.
Oh, wow.
Um, they materialized again when I was in my very early 20s at my first job at Marks and Spencer's. I remember having some panic attacks where I couldn't breathe properly. I then learned to deal with them. I learned how I could stop them, reframing my thoughts. But then as I've come through my life, it grew to a point where I got so bad. My head was just in this rabbit hole every day of bad thoughts and such deep anxiety. It materialized in my body. Um, so I guess it got to its really bad point around 2014, 2016. We'd moved to Australia. So I was away from anything familiar. I was in a massive turnaround job. There was a huge, I was, this was my eternal happiness moment because I had the most money that I would ever have thought I could earn. Everything like ego stuff was all there, and I was the
Right.
most miserable,
Wow.
working ridiculous hours, didn't switch off, couldn't sleep, started doing emails in the middle of the night, took two St. John's wort tablets every day just to stay calm, pains in my shoulders from when I was driving to work. But I was an amazing actress. I just hid it. And
Did you?
behind all of that, I was like a swan on the surface, and underneath I was just like everything just churning all the time. And I
Right.
started realizing I hated my life. I hated days of my life. I had no joy, and everything I thought I wanted was actually I got it and I hated it. So I got to a very, very bad place. And it was really tricky at the time because we were living in Australia. My husband was really struggling with Australia. So actually, all I did was just bury it. I couldn't talk to anyone about it because actually I had to be resilient for him. I had to be resilient for my children. So I just buried it. And that actually made it bubble even more to a
Mm,
point where I never had a breakdown, but I guess in many ways I was when I look back on it. Um, I actually got in 2016, I read a book about how you could plant seeds to change your life, which has led me to where I am now, which I know we're going to come back to. But um, I had 3 months off. I left that one job. It was so toxic. And I had 3 months off in Australia before I started my next job. And I created this thing we'll talk about in a minute. But I then went back to a big job in Australia, and the same thing happened. We
Right.
came back to the UK in 2018, and I went to Topshop actually as their fashion director, and it was all the way through COVID, and it was very, very toxic. And I got such a bad place. I actually started to chant. I was someone taught me to do Buddhist chanting, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and I found through that chanting that I got me to an incredible meditative state that actually it gave me such incredible deep relaxation that I realized actually that this was things that would help me get through the day. So I started doing that in the morning just to get through the day.
Wow.
Um, and I had this kind of dual thing going on where I had this moments of deep, incredible, energetic relaxation, and then I would go into this hideously toxic environment, and then come back, and that's what my days were. But that saved my life, I think. And at the same
Wow.
time, in the background at Topshop, I was engineering how I could change my life away from a corporate job of which I didn't want to do anymore. I just didn't align with me, and I picked up the seed of this concept that I created in Australia and worked on it in the background to save my life, save my mental
Wow.
life, and probably my
Wow.
life actually.
Amazing. God, there's so much in there. So it's ironic actually. I put a post out today. I was read something in the I think it was in the Times, one of the papers this morning, and it was saying how this lady's written a book on the super rich and how the headline's something, I'm butchering it, but something like how the super rich are super miserable was the kind of title. And I think what I heard, and tell me if this is true when you're saying that, sometimes when you get to the place where we kind of all, let's rewind a little bit. If you take money, for example, you said you're earning a lot of money at that time. So we all need money, right? And money up to a point will make you happier, right? If I don't have a house to live in and I get money and I can afford rent, I'm happier. If I can afford food, I'm happier. If I can afford to go on holiday, I'm happier. So up to a point, money delivers on what it promises. However, you got to that point there where you've got everything you need and you can afford all the nice things in life. And then we expect that money will continue this upward spiral of healing us and giving us the solutions to every single problem we have, even those
Yeah,
that we're carrying inside of us. And at the moment you realize that, it's a deeply distressing thing, I'd imagine, because you've almost run out of the world tells you that if you just keep getting more money, Jilly, you will continue to be happier and happier and happier. And look at this and look at what you could buy and look at how much of a VIP you could
yeah,
be. And so when you get to that point, Jim Carrey's a very famous example where he had everything. He's got multi-million dollars for every film he does. He's got every car in the world. When you realize that money, that the piece is inside of you and it's covered up, and you need to take the noise away and the stress away to allow that piece to come through and be present, rather than find the piece externally in a gold-plated Lamborghini and add that to your life. It must be hard because if you get the gold-plated Lambo, so to speak, and you add it
yeah,
to your life and it still doesn't fix you, do you then go,
yeah.
oh God, well, what does then?
Yeah, I mean, I used my drug was buying a new dress or a new
Right.
lipstick, and it
Right.
gave me the fix for a while.
Yeah.
But what I realized was the most valuable thing is time for yourself, time
Mm.
for you, time to really sit within you. And I had none of that, not 1 second of that. And I didn't, I was responsible for that, but no one had taught me that actually keeping myself topped up and actually in balance was the most important thing. And actually, all I did, and women are particularly good at this, is give to other people and other things. And I see this a lot in the work I do now, bra fitting women. I see this vulnerability. I see behind the mask. And actually, I now am totally, utterly rigid when it comes to myself. I have to do something for myself every day, whether it's just doing some breathing, whether it's going for a walk, which changed that walking alone has such a fundamental impact on my life, whether it's going to the gym and doing a half an hour on the cross trainer, just I do a lot of channel guidance work or just breathing into energy. I mean, I have some amazing energetic connections now that there's so much that as human beings, our biological DNA, how we're built, we haven't been taught. that wisdom we were born as souls with, that
Yeah.
energy that we all are connected with. And I've gone through a huge discovery, and now I have this. I don't care about money. I don't care about anything material. I have enough bags of dresses that I'll never need to buy another one. I care about other human beings being in their balance and in their serenity and in their peace. And actually, my whole mission is like yours, actually, Steve, is to help other people find that. Because when we find that, you live a very full life. Every day is
Mm,
joy. Every moment is incredible. And the you're just grateful for having this incredible experience, which we've been distracted from, we've been taken away from. And
yeah.
so I'm like you, I'm on a mission to help others find this space.
Lovely. Let me ask you the million-dollar question. So you as you are now, Julie, you go back and you speak to your however old self, 20 something, 30 something self, right? Who's in the corporate rat race, who's been promoted, who's got a phenomenal CV, everybody respects, got loads of money, living in London, blah, blah, blah. It's amazing. Is there anything Julie of 2025 could have said to Julie however many years ago that firstly young Julie would have listened to? Or do you think you had to have that experience of suffering in order to find the peace that you've had today? Or do you think there's any way you could have shortcut that? Or do you think it's even advisable to shortcut that? Because there might be some people watching this who are right at that stage of peak. So somehow they've if they're still listening, perfect, right? But they might have come to this podcast thinking, well, I'm a high flyer. I'm like Gilly, and I'm doing brilliant. I'm earning loads of money, blah, blah, blah. And they're listening to your kind of full circle moment of finding what really matters to you, and they might think, I don't particularly need that, or they've still got their mask on, it hasn't slipped too much yet. What do you think about all that? Do you think the suffering was an essential part of it? Do you think you needed
Yeah.
that? We have to have that as humans to deepen, to evolve, to be more
I mean, I
wise.
I think there's two answers here. The first one is, you know, it's fine to have a high pressure job and to have money,
Yeah,
but I would say within that, look after yourself and
yeah,
actually, make sure you do something every day for yourself just to make sure you maintain that balance. And you'll shift in life, and what it matters to you now or in your 20s or 30s will be very different to your 40s and 50s.
yeah,
Children distract from who you are. So within having a family, you have again got to build in time for you. So at different stages in your life, it's different, but that's really key. My suffering I had to go through because I had to unearth some really deep stuff which needed to come out, but also to make me the person I am now, to wake me up to myself and my life's purpose and mission. I had to go through that. It's given me empathy. It's given me true abilities to speak to people and understand them and for them to trust me. And
yeah,
because I can talk, and also part of who I am is going out with my voice and sharing my pain and my experience because that actually provokes a reaction in other people, which is why you're inviting me on this podcast. Because actually, when you hear someone else who's been in the depths of despair, but actually has hidden it, we've all got different degrees of that story. It gives you hope and it
yeah,
helps you create action to change. So it's an
yeah.
inspiration.
Would you use the word grateful to describe the darkest times in your life? Are you grateful you had them, given where it's taken you?
I am now.
Yeah,
I've learnt, I've looked down madness, if I'm honest. I feel I've looked down that tunnel of madness. I've looked down, I've seen what incredible resilience is. I've seen my own incredible strength, but I've also seen my own vulnerabilities. And I think I've probably seen the polar sides of all of my personality and who I am. And actually, it's made me really proud of the human being that I am and what I've become. So I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. And I'm so grateful actually for where I am now. I love my life. I love who I am. I love the opportunities that are opening up for me now. I have got this beautiful brand called Peach House, which is a healing space. It's not unusual. It's called Peach House Peace House, and I honestly feel that that is my vehicle to play my part in spreading change and peace for our world and a way to connect with other humans to help them step out of the matrix and into themselves truly.
Mm. Do you think it's harder for women for women in very senior roles in business, and it's ironic actually. I've done a few of these podcast episodes, and I've had a disproportionately large number of women on. It's just kind of how it's gone. Do you think do you think it's harder for women who are at the most senior levels of companies to show vulnerability? Do you think some of them feel like they're sort of playing in a man's world? They need to be more masculine. They need to not show any, in quotes, weakness, in quotes, vulnerability. So do you think they feel under even more pressure to put these masks on and to keep these brave faces on as a woman? Do you think it's tougher?
Um, I think it's tough for men and women, but I think women are, you know, allowed, seen to be more emotional. So it's,
Yeah,
it's definitely I would say from my point of view, I would have never let my mask down. If I'd cried at work, I'd have beaten myself up
would
because I'd
you?
have thought, oh my God, they've seen that I'm weak.
Right.
I sat in conversations about other people where they're talking about someone being, maybe they're not, they're anxious, they're stressed, it's seen as a weakness.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff, you're encouraged to just block it out. And I feel dreadful for men. There's a lot now about women, trying to, talking about menopause and women's health and stuff. But um, I know there's men in work organization too. It's just expected that you bury it, your stiff upper lip. Men need to be allowed to express their female emotions as women can express their masculinity.
Yeah, totally.
But it's about how that balance, and the balance is all shifted wrong. And this is all about readdressing that. So I think a lot of men's mental health is about the fact that they have to hide and bury, and women's is that they've had to be the provide, keep things moving. And it's like, this is really not a healthy way for people to live.
Yeah, it's
You know,
crazy, isn't it? I mean, what we consider in quotes normal is actually insane, really.
insane. Yeah.
But we call
It drives
insanity normal, don't we? If enough people do it, suddenly the label goes from insanity to normal. That's crazy in itself. What would you say the
Yeah.
highest stakes situation you've been in? And you can answer this as either professionally or personally. The highest stakes situation you've been in, Julie, and how did you get through it? If you haven't kind of already talked through it.
Um, I mean, I'm going to say probably when you look at on the surface of things, I mean, I've talked about being in roles and they're very toxic and they were high stakes because I felt I had the responsibility of a family and people relying on me. But actually, I would say my most high stakes is now, right now, where
Oh,
I've got
really?
this amazing brand. And we're not driving enough revenue yet to cover our costs. We've got investors, but that money is just not on a tap. We've made lots of mistakes, but we've got to where we've got to, and we're 3 years in. Next month I don't know where I'm going to get the salaries from. It's high
Wow.
stakes because I put so much into this business and this mission that I'm feeling like I'm unstoppable. But equally, I'm trying to navigate through and grow it and find where we're going to get our traction. But every month I could call it, I could pull it, and I can't. So that I would
Yeah.
say, but I've almost invested so much financially and personally that it can't fail.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
can't see another way. So I would say that's pretty high stakes.
Amazing. Well, it's very high stakes. I wasn't expecting that. It's I almost get a
Yeah.
sense because I would describe the work I do. I would describe mindfulness. Don't particularly like that term, but I know it's a translation of stuff. I would say mindfulness found me. I didn't find it, and I almost got that sense when you were saying that. It's almost like Peach House has found you, and I can tell you're in kind of flow with it. I can, you're 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 a conscious leader. I can see that already, and this is brilliant because you're an example of somebody who's in some what you just said is a high stakes situation of your life, and yet you're enjoying the journey, right? So many of us, everything's a means to an end, but can things be in, and can they be an end to themselves? Can you enjoy? Because even if you turn Peach House into the biggest brand in the world in the next 10 years, if you, as you well know better than anybody else, if you tread on people and it's a thoroughly miserable 10 years and you're sleep deprived and you're anxious and you're depressed, that doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what it turns into. Can you enjoy every day? Can you still sleep knowing that you don't know?
But it's so funny, actually. I sleep really well. I have no anxiety.
I can
And
feel that.
I had to step through fear in January. It was a really was, do I call it moment.
Was it?
And so many things happened to me that week, which would have in the old me triggered me. And
Mm,
not one thing triggered me. I just thought, do you know, I'm really grateful for the fact there's a 3 hour queue on the motorway and I'm stuck at Reading services. I'm just going to use that time just to catch up on everything and just be calm and, you know, and I literally got there was like three or four things, and then in the night on the Wednesday, I got this well done, this sense of well done. You've passed your test. You've stepped through fear, and you've committed to keep going. And you're now, this is you're stepping into the world that you're creating. I literally had it again this week, and it's like a moment of huge growth when actually you're tested to see have she really healed those triggers? Is that really deep down stuff? Has it really all come out yet?
yeah.
And it doesn't go away if you don't deal with it. It doesn't go away. I've had some stuff resurface recently, and I've had to do a bit more work, a bit more clearing. And I've had
Yeah.
it this week, and I looked at how I behaved in every single challenge I was given, and I'm like, God, you've grown so much. I looked at every challenge as an opportunity to learn and how grateful I was. And so I reframed it all. And actually, I thought you really have turned into an amazingly strong leader, conscious leader. And I just thought, and I know it's like that. That's why I know that like I am in high stakes, but I almost don't have to worry about it because I'm going where I'm going,
And you're in
and it's all
flow, aren't you?
taking me that way.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
flowing.
So to explain it to any cynical men that might be watching, I'm trying to think of who might be watching this. Um, maybe we could draw a parallel with a highly skilled sportsman or woman who's in flow state. And if you think of the greatest sports people who aren't thinking when they're doing their sport, they're just in this beautiful state of flow, and there's a confidence in that. They know what they're doing, and of course you know what you're doing, right? You haven't just stumbled into this and you're plucking things out of thin air, and you've got your incredible background, so you absolutely know what you're doing. But I can feel this sense of flow coming through from you. Let me ask you this: um, was there any part of you that worried you might lose your edge if you did the inner work? In the sense that did
No,
any of you think there was a part of you that thought, well, it's the anxiety, it's keeping me going, it's my ability to worry about that going wrong that makes me think about it. If I get too chill here, I'm going to drop the ball. I'm going to be. They say, what's Jilly doing? She's over there meditating. Don't I? Did you? I had this fear that I'd turn into this sort of passive blob that wouldn't be that would lose my. I'd lose my edge. I'd lose my sharpness. I'd lose everything that all this fear and this tension gave me. I thought that was part of the deal. I was wrong,
yeah,
but I thought that.
I think that's a really good question. I couldn't think straight. I was so anxious.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I was, and I use alcohol in the evenings, that glass of wine, just to, oh gosh, I can't wait to get home, get that fridge open, get that first glass of wine down me. And then that just actually leads to more anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, I'm clear-headed. I am a really good person. I like being around myself. I
Important.
am very good at listening, dissecting, and coming up with a solution and advice. I'm a very much a solutions person. I'm out there with vision. I'm so much more effective than I ever was.
Right.
Even when I'm tired, I have incredible energy. And I mean, people like go, your energy is amazing. I just do. I mean, I go longer, harder than any of the people younger than me. And, I'm the one driving the van, packing it, and I don't shy away from all that stuff. But I know when I'm not in that flow, I can feel when I've stepped into something which it is not, and actually then I adjust. So I know
Right.
my mechanics so well, I'm able to tune it like a radio and adjust it. And I don't know, there is a magic to this because and you bring into your life when you get to this flow, you bring into your life the things that you want to be in your life. If I lose everything, I know that was meant to happen to me. And there's a
Mhm.
big lesson in that. And
Wow.
I'll be grateful for it because something
Wow.
else is going to come. I don't want this to happen because I feel I'm in the space I need to be in, but I know there'll be another journey that I need to step onto. There's a sideways and it'll take me to where I've got to go, where I'm being driven, where I'm in
Wow.
service to deliver.
I think you're a really good example of a leader who has self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and compassion, and how these are massive strengths in business. So often we think of these as kind of soft skills, and they're either nice to have, or maybe they make us a little bit weak and a bit more vulnerable, like I was just saying. But your answers are really meaningful, I think, because they show how these are, great business skills. They will serve you well. I think there's a lot of businesses out there that think, oh, we can't do that mindfulness course with that guy because what's it going to do? Is it either going to help people? Is it going to make them check out of life? Is it going to be something that this is about? And Oprah Winfrey's always talks about this. This is, her practice makes her sharper. It doesn't detract. It absolutely makes her sharper.
I think it's an interesting word that you use. So there's so many skepticals and doubters about,
Yeah.
this being in connected to who you are and your energy and how you get there. And words like hippie shit and woo. I mean, I've been doing angel cards for years. I've been doing lay hands-on healing for years since, my friends call me Mystic Meg, and
Right.
I've just always had this desire to heal.
Okay.
I've done my Reiki course. That was a massive help for me. I always love having healing done on me. And, even my husband, so you're doing talking about that hippie shit again, I laugh to myself and I just think, you know what? You have no idea.
Yeah. I would say to people, just suspend judgment, right? Whether if you think meditation is woo-woo BS, and I always say to people, don't believe a word I tell you. Please don't believe this. Like it's like believing in fitness. What's that going to do for your fitness level? Nothing. But if any of it resonates, just try and see what's true for you. Be your own laboratory, right? Because you can find these things out, can't you? You can
Yeah,
be your own laboratory.
you can. And actually, I think there's a preconceived idea that, everyone who is in mindfulness and stuff, they live in Glastonbury and they smoked wacky backy and they're like wear these like slightly medieval clothes and, and that's sad because that's what has the connotations.
Yeah.
But this is about living a full and happy life on this planet that we were gifted. And and when you experience it, your sense of wholeness and being in your I am and how you observe and feel, you get your senses back. It's the most remarkable space to be in, and
Mm,
everyone deserves that.
mm, brilliant, he said. A lot of what you say reminds me of Eckhart Tolle. Are you a big fan of?
I-
Have you read any of his book? Have you read The Power of
No,
Now? Or oh wow, you must.
no.
So Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you've not heard of him. I'll
Yes,
send you a link.
okay.
Um, I was just going to say one thing there. And I'm constantly thinking about cynical men just because I was stroke and one. And you said about the mindfulness and connotations. I was having a conversation with a brilliant guy who heads up a great charity that does a lot of work preventing mass suicide and other things. And he isn't into mindfulness, which is absolutely fine. But he came to a session I did, and I said to him, "What's the first word that comes into your head when you hear the word meditation or mindfulness? Just unfiltered, right? If it's a swear word, fine. He said it." And he said something like fluff or BS or something like that. And I said to him, "Okay, fine." I said, "What do you imagine people that practice it get? What would you if you imagine somebody who does meditate or practice mindfulness, whatever that means to you? What would you imagine that gives them?" And he said they'd probably be more peaceful, maybe they'd be less anxious, don't know, they might sleep better, blah, blah. And I said, so what part about those outcomes feels like BS or fluff? And that's a kind of light bulb. I could see the light bulb go off in his head, and he's kind of like, oh yeah, it's kind of. I said, who wouldn't want that? What man wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
We all want the outcomes of this stuff, like you just said there. We all want to find that. We want to feel like we did when we were a little kid. We never care in the world, and our only problem was what time we had to be back for dinner. We're busy climbing trees and kicking balls and doing whatever we wanted to do. We all want to feel that. Everybody wants to feel that. Yet the world will suck us out of that and put us in
Yeah.
situations. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions to finish, if that's all right, Gilly. Are you a morning or an evening person?
Morning,
Emails or phone calls?
phone call,
Favorite food?
fresh veg.
Oh, which one?
Oh, I love like a really lovely crunchy stir fry with mixed vegetables,
Nice. Guilty pleasure.
crisps.
Oh, I'm with you on that. What crisp we talking?
Oh, I
That's
love
my Achilles
crisps and
heel.
dips, anything like
Oh,
tortillas with tzatziki, hummus, pop chips.
yeah. Oh, you, at least you've gone slightly healthier ones there.
I try to.
Yeah. Favorite book?
Oh, I'm going to just say there's a book I read recently, which was I can't remember the E-Myth, and I'm just going to say it's a favorite book because I think it's had such a significant change on me and my how I'm approaching my business. It's it's called the E-Myth. Now I can't remember who it's by, Michael someone or other. You can get it on Amazon, and it's why most small businesses fail, and it's because the founder works in the business and not on the business.
Right.
And the other key thing I've taken out of it is a game. It's really a game, and engaging people is to play the rules of this game. I love looking at what I'm doing as a game now,
Yeah.
but actually within what you do, you innovate, you quantify and then you operationalize. And I realized we've done loads of innovation, but we hadn't quantified it and we hadn't turned it into an operation. So now I've got a very different approach to this business. I've gone through all my innovations. I've worked out which were the ones which were successful, and we've quantified them. And now that's absolutely given me the strategy and the vision as to how we can make money and grow and have most impact. And that's the operation. So, and building an operation like it's a franchise and you can roll it out. So it's just given me all the clues I needed. And do you know
Wow.
what? That's next to my bed for 6 months and I didn't even read it.
Really? But it was there.
Michael Gerber.
Michael Gerber, brilliant. Last question. If you could invite anyone over for dinner, live or dead, who would it be?
Do you know what? I thought hard about this, and I think lots of people went through my mind. One of them was Donald Trump because I give him a piece of my mind. But actually, I've just said the Dalai Lama. I
Yeah.
really fancy someone who is on a lovely spiritual level that I could really connect and learn from.
Brilliant. Gillian, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. I've loved it. Really loved it. Thank you. It's been
Thanks.
great.
Thanks so much.